Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You guys wanted us to dig into Christmas miracles, and well, we listened. We've got a really cool mix of stuff to look at. First, some
Yeah.
stories,
Yeah. Yeah.
heartwarming articles, even some stories from wartime.
That's right.
So, are we talking straight up holiday magic, or
You know what's so interesting to me is just how many different kinds of miracles we've got in all of this.
yeah,
In some of these stories, like the 110 Christmas miracle stories to comfort us, we see those like classic thing, unexpected gifts or
right,
crazy coincidences. But then there are
yeah,
also stories like Christmas Without Chris, where the miracle is more about
right?
finding comfort or connection when someone you love is gone.
That's a great point. It's like some of these miracles are like
Yeah.
almost supernatural or something, but then others are more about
Yeah.
people being kind or
Right.
like the power of community.
Exactly. It really
Yeah.
makes you think about like how much belief plays into all of this.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories. It's like
Yeah.
Lost on the Night Before Christmas, where people are in these really tough spots
Yeah.
and they're literally praying for a miracle, and then bam, something crazy happens.
It really makes you think, like, what about in a Christmas Miracle for the Kids? Remember?
Oh yeah.
The family's about to get evicted.
Right.
They're praying for a miracle, and all of a sudden they win the lottery.
Wow.
I mean, do you think that just believing in miracles makes them
Yeah.
more likely to happen?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Like, could it be some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, or is there something else going on?
Yeah.
There's this idea in psychology called optimism bias.
Uh-huh.
It's basically where people think good things are way more likely to happen to them
Oh, interesting.
than they really are. So maybe that's part of it.
Okay.
Or maybe like when you're focused on the positive, even when things are rough,
Yeah.
it helps you see opportunities that you might have missed otherwise.
That's so interesting. You know, it's funny because in a lot of these stories, the most meaningful miracles aren't about getting presents or anything.
Right.
It's something way deeper, like in Strangers Carried Us Home,
Oh, yeah.
where a bunch of strangers help out this family. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
actions that really matter.
It's true. It reminds me of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing.
Uh-huh.
Often these Christmas miracles are all about those like basic human needs
Okay.
for love and belonging and safety.
Yeah.
It's like the thought and the feeling behind it are what really makes it powerful.
Okay, so speaking of feelings, let's talk about those wartime stories. In 5 Christmas war stories that will warm your heart.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
I mean, it's insane to see moments of peace and generosity come out of all that fighting and hardship.
Right.
The Christmas truce of 1914 is like the perfect example.
It's incredible. That image of the German and British soldiers playing soccer together right in the middle of no man's land.
Yeah.
It just blows me away. It shows you that even in the worst possible situations, people can still connect and be kind to each other. It makes you wonder if peace is possible in a war zone. Shouldn't it be possible everywhere else?
That's a really good point. It's like those little acts of kindness in some of the other stories, like the mechanic who wouldn't take any money and he fixed my car in my Christmas.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Maybe those small things are like little versions of that same peacemaking idea.
Yeah. There's this thing in social psychology called reciprocal altruism. It basically says that doing something nice for someone can make them want to do something nice for someone else.
Okay.
So maybe those wartime truces and those little acts of generosity are both tapping into that human need to cooperate and be compassionate.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like even with all the chaos and conflict going on, there's still that desire to connect and be good to each other.
Totally. And from a sociological perspective, rituals like Christmas,
Mm.
even during wartime.
Can give people a sense of shared identity and purpose. You know? They offer a break from the fighting, a chance to reconnect with those values of peace and generosity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Powerful stuff.
It is. It's pretty wild how those wartime stories tie back into this idea of there being different levels of miracles.
Oh, cool.
That we've got these huge displays of peace, and then there are also those quieter acts of generosity.
Right.
It seems like miracles can be anything from something extraordinary to something that happens every day.
For sure. You could almost call those big ones like capital M miracles, you know?
Yeah.
The ones that are totally unexpected and that everyone's talking about. But then you've got those little M miracles that are happening all the time.
Right.
Acts of kindness or lucky breaks, those little glimmers of hope that can turn someone's whole day around or even change their life.
That's a good way to put it. It's like what we were saying before about the power of beliefs.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all about being aware of those smaller miracles, those moments of grace that are hidden in plain sight. I think you're right. If we're always focused on the negative, on what we don't have,
Yeah.
we might miss those little but powerful miracles that are happening all around us. It's about being open to the possibility.
Okay, so this makes me think about those stories where people find things that they'd lost.
Oh, yeah.
Like in The Lost Locket, where that woman finds her grandmother's locket that she'd been looking for forever.
Yeah.
Was that just a coincidence or was it something more?
Now that's the real question. Where do you draw the line between something being a coincidence and something being a miracle?
Yeah, that's tricky.
Some people might say it's all just random chance, but others might say it's fate or even like divine intervention or something.
Exactly. It's like the meaning we give to these things is what makes them a miracle.
Right.
Like if finding that locket helped that woman find closure or peace or reconnect with her family in some way,
Right.
then it's way more than just finding some lost jewelry.
Totally.
Yeah.
It connects to something much deeper. Our need to feel like our lives have meaning, like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
These objects become super important, not because of what they're worth, but because of the meaning they hold.
So what you're saying is we kind of have the power to create our own miracles just by choosing to see the magic in the ordinary,
Yeah.
by finding meaning and connection in those everyday moments.
And by actually doing kind and generous things.
Yeah.
Like what about Connie in the Christmas basket that kept on giving?
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
She gets this unexpected gift and then decides to share it with other people.
That's such a good example. It's like her being generous made the original miracle even bigger.
Totally.
It created this ripple effect of kindness and compassion.
There's this thing in positive psychology called helper's high, which basically means that helping other people actually makes you feel good.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It releases endorphins and reduces stress, and it can even boost your immune system. So maybe Connie wasn't just spreading Christmas cheer, she was also making herself healthier.
That's amazing. It's crazy how giving to others can be so powerful for both the person giving and the person receiving.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that we're all connected and that what we do can affect other people in a positive way.
And it brings us right back to that idea of everyday miracles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe those wartime truces and those random acts of kindness and those moments when you feel like you're totally connected to someone.
Right.
Maybe those are all just expressions of that same connection, of that basic human need to have peace and love and to feel like you belong.
It really is amazing how all of these stories show how connected we all are. And like we've been saying, even little acts of generosity can make a huge difference. It makes me think of that quote from Mother Teresa. We can do no great things, only small things with great love.
Oh, that's such a good one. And it really gets at the idea that creating those everyday miracles isn't about doing something huge.
Right.
It's about approaching every interaction, no matter how small, with compassion and like really meaning it.
Yeah. It's like choosing to see the world as a place where good things can happen.
Yeah.
Where even when things are tough, there's always the possibility that something good will come out of it.
Absolutely. It reminds me of this idea from sociology called positive deviance. Have you heard of that?
You know, I don't think so.
It's the idea that even in really hard situations,
Okay.
there are always people or groups who find creative ways to solve problems and thrive, even when everything's going wrong.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe these miracle workers that we've been talking about are examples of positive deviance.
Yeah.
People who choose hope and generosity, even when it would be easier to just give up.
I love that. So for those of us who want to embrace this idea of everyday miracles,
Yeah.
of being those positive deviants in our own lives, where do we even start? What advice would you give?
I think it all starts with being grateful,
Okay.
like noticing and appreciating the good things in our lives, even the little things, can totally change our perspective.
Right.
Instead of feeling like we don't have enough, we start to see all the abundance around us. It's like training our brains to focus on the positive, which then makes us more likely to see those miracles when they happen.
That makes sense. It's like we talked about before with optimism bias.
Yeah.
If we believe that good things are possible, we're more likely to notice them when they do happen. But it's not just about seeing them, right?
Yeah.
It's also about creating them.
Exactly. Once we've shifted our mindset to one of gratitude and possibility,
Yeah.
then we can start looking for opportunities to be a force for good in the world.
Like what kind of opportunities?
It could be anything, like helping out a neighbor or volunteering in your community or just doing something nice for someone out of the blue.
And those little things can create these huge ripple effects that we don't even realize.
Totally. Like the mechanic who fixed that woman's car for free. He probably had no idea how much that one act of generosity would impact her and her family.
That's true. It reminds me of that butterfly effect thing, you know?
Yeah.
The idea that even the smallest actions can have these massive and unpredictable consequences.
Right. And even though we can't control what happens as a result of our actions, we can control our intentions. We can choose to be the kind of people who spread kindness and generosity, who try to bring a little bit of light and hope to the people around us.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into Christmas miracles, I'm really struck by how much these stories can teach us, not just about the holidays, but about life in general.
Yeah.
It's about choosing to believe in the good, recognizing how connected we all are, and actively looking for ways to make a difference.
I love that. And it's so important to remember that these miracles, both big and small,
Yeah.
they don't just happen to us. We have the power to make them happen. It's about living with that spirit of generosity, compassion, and hope all year round. It's about embracing the possibility that even in the most ordinary moments, something truly extraordinary can happen.
This has been such a great conversation. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Christmas miracles. We hope it's inspired you to look out for those everyday miracles that are happening all around you and maybe even to become a miracle worker yourself. Happy holidays, everyone.